Hey guys, Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast. You're about to listen to a little bit of our primetime podcast that we recorded this week. Make sure to go to Blog Talk Radio / Most Valuable Podcast for our full-length podcast that you can go ahead and download. I hope you enjoy it. I know me and Brandon did recording it. But Brandon, we're going to move on into our next topic, and we're moving from a quarterback that was in a Power 5 to a quarterback who, not Power 5, who is impressing people, not just with what his year was last year in 2016, but what it could be this year. And there's an AFC decision made. This is according to rotoworld.com. And this was told to CBS's Jason LaCorta. And an AFC decision maker whose team is not in need of a quarterback told CBS Sports that Wyoming redshirt junior quarterback Josh Allen, and here's the quote, absolutely could be the first pick in 2018. We have talked ad nauseum, Brandon. I think both you and me are on the same page heading into this season. If the draft happened today or tomorrow, Sam Darnold would be the number one pick in that NFL draft, correct?
I think so.
I'm gonna ask you this. Is there anything you see happening this season that could convince NFL scouts, NFL execs, that Allen is the guy to take number one a year from today than Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Sam Darnold would have to probably get hurt on his first throw, and Allen would have to have the same stats that he had last season, and Darnold not be able to come back for the entire year.
So basically,
and
Darnold
I think
can't
that
play.
So Darnold doesn't play his entire season, and of course Allen repeats what he did last year. I think that's probably the only way that does happen. Because if Darnold is anywhere near what his numbers were last year and gets even better, improves on those numbers, I don't think there's any reason why you look away from what he's done when his let's be serious about it, and fair, his schedule is going to be tougher, and Allen's is not. Yeah. It's very simple.
Allen's
and not to say that he doesn't still have some quality opponents to go up against, but Wyoming or USC. I think that's pretty simple if you want to compare it like that, but it is apples to oranges.
Well, and I mean, the two biggest opponents that Josh Allen will play this year is September 2nd to start the season. They will be in Wyoming. They will be on the road at Iowa to play the Hawkeyes. And then September 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports, they'll be at home to play the Oregon Ducks. Toughest games they've got. Otherwise, they're playing Gardner-Webb, Hawaii, Texas State, Utah State, Boise State, New Mexico, Colorado State, Air Force, Fresno, and San Jose State. A pretty cupcake schedule when you look at it. When you're looking at it with Power 5 goggles on, especially.
Which is what we usually look at it with,
and when
right?
you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you should be able to beat every other team that I just named, not Oregon and not Iowa. And from watching his film from last year, because when I was like, you know what, let's talk about Josh Allen because of these comments, I looked at it and we're like, I'm going to watch his film from last year. And the thing that I think when watching him play last year is he's got an arm. Could the accuracy be a little bit better at times? Yes. But he's got an arm. He can throw on the run. He is like, when he would scramble out, I'm expecting like, oh, go a little bit and then run out of bounds. No, he's juking guys and getting downfield. And I know that in the NFL, those defenders are going to be at a little bit different level. So maybe you're not going to be able to do the exact same thing. But based on his measurables, he's an inch tall. He's an inch taller than Andrew Luck and about 10 pounds lighter than Andrew Luck was coming out of Stanford. I look at his tape, and he, to me, looks like Andrew Luck with the running ability of Dak Prescott. That's what he looks like to me. Because at first I'm like, man, that play action, him rolling out and throwing, looks almost identical to Andrew Luck. Looks a little smaller in the body, but that's because, yet again, he's 10 pounds lighter than Andrew Luck was. However, when he's in open space running, he's more nimble, more kind of jukey, like a Dak Prescott, not I'm going to run you over like Andrew Luck was in college and at Stanford, and especially that big hit he laid against USC when they picked up a fumble and he bam, tackled him. You're like, whoa, the quarterback made a tackle on that one. Allen has all the tools to maybe be the number 1 overall pick. And I can't wait for this year, Brandon, because you know what this is going to play out to be? We saw it with Mariota and Winston. We saw it with Andrew Luck and RG3. This is going to be our next chapter. We even saw it a little bit with Goff and Wentz. This is going to be our next chapter where we're talking next year for draft. We're talking who you taking at the top, Darnold or Allen. These are the guys that are going to go 1-2 in the 2018 NFL draft, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
I think that when you take a look at Josh Allen and, first of all, when you have Iowa and then Oregon on your schedule, you look at an Iowa team that, 2 years removed from an outstanding season.
The fake ID season.
Last year, they came back down to earth, but they did beat Michigan. I think that there's an opportunity there. And then you also look at this Oregon team that's rolling over with a new coaching staff, and they're trying to get some luster back for Oregon football, which had been lost, I think, a little bit from Chip Kelly leaving and the transition there from Mariota not being there anymore either. I think that too could be a competitive game. I think those two games against Power 5 teams could be competitive. Now, the thing that's making Josh Allen be Josh Allen and why he had over 3,000 yards, over 3,200 yards last season, 28 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. You'd like the interceptions to go down a little bit, but the 28 touchdowns is outstanding. He is a big fan of a former NFL quarterback. And can you guess what quarterback that is?
Can I get a hint?
He was on your team for a little bit.
Brett Favre.
Yes.
Gunslinger.
He's a big fan of Brett Favre. And he was
I'd take him all day.
And he was watching an episode with Brett Favre and John Gruden, and Brett Favre saying that he doesn't want to that he doesn't want to tell a whole lot of people this, but he always wants to go for the home run. And there was one point when
I love that quarterback camp.
Allen rolled out, and he had the open guy underneath, but he threw it deep, incomplete pass. Coach comes up to him, says, Josh, usually, you can go for the underneath. We want to be able to take the profit there. And Josh goes, well, you know what? I like being a gunslinger. Like, I want to go for it all sometimes. That type of mentality, though it can hurt you sometimes, is the type of mentality that you need to have for a team like this, for a guy like this. And that type of mentality is going to get you to be on a good team. Well, maybe not a good team in the NFL, because if you're being drafted high, you're typically not going on a good team. But that type of mentality is a winner mentality, I think. You're a gunslinger. You're going to take those chances. That tells me that you are willing to take risks. And you have to do that sometimes as a quarterback. You have to do that a lot of times as a quarterback. You got to take the risk of, you're throwing that deep ball. You're hoping, you're praying he's going to get it. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
Eli Manning, the David Tyree catch?
Yes, you got to take those gambles. And the quarterbacks that make it, I think, do. And I think that Allen really has an opportunity to be really good. And, obviously he played a little bit in 2015. He really didn't.
Yeah.
But 2016 was his year. And, he broke out. Boom. He came onto the scene for, non-Power 5, but even Power 5. You put him on the map there. If he can have another season like that, like I said, have those interceptions go down a little bit. But again, when you have those interceptions like that, you're a gunslinger. You're going to have that. But if he can be a little bit more efficient, I guess, in that sense, or effective with more touchdowns and less interceptions, he's going to look even sexier. His numbers are going to look even sexier to a team that's looking to try and draft him.
I'll tell you this, Brandon. You mentioned Brett Favre and you mentioned Josh Allen wanting to be like him and a gunslinger. You're barking up the wrong tree begging for those interceptions that are going to be down, because the thing that you get with the gunslinger mentality, especially if you're going, like, if we're saying Brett Favre is the far end of the gunslinger mentality. What did Brett Favre love to do? Just let it rip. And if he threw a pick, I'll get him on the next one. There have been years you look at Brett Favre's numbers and you're going, man, why do he have so many interceptions? Like his touchdowns to interception ratio some year would be like 1-to-1. It'd be as many touchdowns as many interceptions because it'd be games where he's just like, I'm going deep. I'm going to hit. And I remember a quote from Brett Favre because Josh Allen might have become my favorite college quarterback this year with that because Brett Favre is one of my top quarterbacks. Now, as a child, it was like, oh, he was a Packer. I didn't really like him, but now I really respect Brett Favre. Maybe coming to the Vikings helped a little bit, but
maybe
the one quote that he said was, I don't care if it's the hole of a pin needle. I'm going to try to fit this ball through.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, you need that mentality as a quarterback. Now, if it depends on the situation. If that play you talked about where he had these short underneath, they would have got the first down, was like a fourth down, then okay, go with the underneath, live another down. But if it's first down and you see it open, go with it. And I mean, I love that gunslinger mentality. And I think that this year coming into the draft, it is going to be just like we've seen time and time before. Except what I really think will happen is these two quarterbacks will have great years this year. We talk all offseason about who's going to be number one, who's going to be number two. And then these two guys are actually in the league and one hasn't fallen off. And they're both solid quarterbacks for their team. Kind of like I'm in a recent comparison of Winston and Mariota. Both of them came in, I want to say that was the 2015 NFL draft. They come in, both of them are still looking strong 2 years in to into their NFL career. It's not going to be like Andrew Luck and RG3, where we're looking at Andrew Luck going, yeah, he's a great quarterback. We're looking at RG3 going, probably shouldn't have given up that much for the number 2 overall pick. And Josh Allen this year just needs to do two things. Needs to win and needs to show how much of a leader he is on and off the field for Wyoming, because that is what is going to get him a high draft pick, maybe even the number 1 overall pick, because I compare it to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz didn't even play his final year at North Dakota State, but because of his leadership was able to go ahead and get to the 2nd overall pick. He was injured during his last year of college, but because of his leadership, because of what he had done, he was able to be the number 2 overall pick to the Philadelphia Eagles.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think Allen, he's got a real shot here. He's got a real shot with his stats that he was able to put up last year. And I think that mentality that he shows, and clearly he's got it. If he is able to come anywhere near close to these numbers again this year, and you said it, win games. I think that is going to be important, and win one of those 2 games against the Power 5. If he can win one of those 2, that would be outstanding. That'd be a big leap for him. I think if he does that, he tries to repeat on the numbers from last year, he's got a great chance to be considered in all top conversations for early draft picks in 2018.
I got a few quotes here for you, and this is from Roto World. This was an executive in the NFL whose team, or an evaluator, pardon me, whose team already has a veteran quarterback. And I'm going to read exactly how they typed it, because they typed it with the little bit of slang that the evaluator used. He goes, now that's a Purdy prospect right there. We love him. And that's it right there. There's another one where they go, every bit the prospect Wentz was and probably better. So I look at that and go, you know what? There's no reason why Josh Allen can't have a good, it all depends on, everything that we talked about with Rosen, what we talked about with Allen, it comes down to this year. This year is going to be the barometer. Even Darnold, we can put him in there. It comes down to this year. We talked about, I even brought it up with Darnold when we asked, can he lead USC to the playoff? I even threw out there, well, is he going to be like Matt Barkley this year? will he have the Matt Barkley year because it's USC and because we have seen that before in the past? As long as this is a solid year and all these three quarterbacks continue to grow, I'm going to now push Rosen out. As long as these two quarterbacks continue to grow, they'll be 1 and 2 off the board. They will be 1 and 2 off the board in the NFL draft. The only question will be, which one will you want? Right now, I'm going to go ahead and say, just like I said at the beginning of the segment, Brandon, Sam Darnold is my number 1 pick on May 9th, 2017. Of course, that can change after we see some games, but right now he's my number 1 pick. But don't be surprised if after the season I'm sitting there telling you Josh Allen is my number 1 pick.
And don't be surprised if on May 10th, 2017, Ricky also changes his mind.
That could happen. Too. That could happen too. But any final thoughts on Josh Allen and whether or not he will be the number 1 pick in next year's NFL draft?
I think we covered it.
Okay, this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below in the comment section what you guys think. Will Josh Allen be the number 1 overall pick? Do you like Josh Allen as the number 1 overall pick? And kind of give me a little comparison. Let's start it right now between Darnold and Allen. Which one would you take number 1 overall if you had to take a quarterback with that pick? Let us know down below in the comment section. Well, thank you guys for checking out this video from the Primetime Podcast. If you want to check out more, click right over here. The video's right over here. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.